romance, love, the spark shared when two people connect at a heart-to-heart level. Stories have been told and movies created about the extent that lovers will go to so that they can be together and fulfill that longing for connection that we call love. Nations have risen and fallen over romance. Businesses have grown and collapsed because of love affairs. Love stories capture the imagination and tell stories that reach to the very heart of humanity. Pay attention to what happens in your own heart when you hear names like Romeo and Juliet, Lancelot and Guinevere, Paris and Helen of Troy, Scarlett O'Hara and Rhett Butler. Hearts race, desire is stirred, a longing to be a part of a story like that grows. Unless we fight it down, determined to not let our longing be acknowledged so that we're not disappointed once again. But deep inside, every one of us desires to know love, real love, or as has become popular, true love. Where does that desire come from? Why is romance the source of the greatest joy, yet also for some, the deepest pain? Why has this longing for love captured hearts throughout history in various cultures in every epoch of human history? What's the source? And more importantly, what will the fulfillment actually be like? Join me as we explore the mystery of the divine romance.
This is Dreams and Mysteries.
Before any story had yet been told, before there were man or woman to tell the story about, before the first star had been hung in the universe, there was love. God the Father entertained a knowledge of himself that was so full and complete, so total and perfect, that the knowledge itself became another. The Logos, the understanding that God had of himself, the exact representation of who he was in entirety, nothing lacking. God, who has perfect knowledge and no limit to what he knows, knew himself. The one who is, not just was or will be, the perfection of wisdom, the unlimited, infinite one, comprehended the fullness of himself and the thought that he had of himself, being the fullness of the divine nature, was himself, distinct, yet one, unique, yet undivided. This is the Son. This same God, knowing himself fully and completely without partiality or bias, recognized his own beauty and glory and loved himself. The Son, who was the knowledge the Father had of himself, saw the Father, and love exploded from his being. Never not having known himself, this love had no beginning, just as the knowledge of himself had no beginning, but it proceeded from himself. The love that the Father had for the Son and the Son had for the Father, being so full and complete, had to stand outside of the source, even though it was one with the source. The love shared was another, absolute and pure, distinct yet one. The love was the Spirit, the substance of the high opinion that the Father shared for the Son, the glory that the Son gave to the Father. The Spirit, who is love, flowed between the Father and the Son, and the three were one, and the love they shared was pure, beautiful, and uncontainable, in perfect fellowship with each other. They chose to prepare a bride for the Son. The love they shared was so wonderful that they longed to bring another into their love, to share in the love they have for one another. But what created thing could ever give the Son the love that he deserved? What created thing could ever compare with the glory contained with this eternal being of light and love? How could there be an answer for the longing of his heart? The one being brought into this relationship must be like him, the source of all that is good and true, must carry his essence, reflect his glory, be made in his image. With that decision, the choice to bring another into the love they shared, the plan was made to create. Start with light. The one who is light spoke, "Let there be light." And it was. And from that light, all of creation came into being. Galaxies formed, stars named, balanced perfectly to sustain life on one little piece of dirt on the edge of a small galaxy somewhere in the universe. And the one who was light, which is the life of man, brought forth life on that small planet, forming earth and sea, creatures and fauna to live in each. And at the end of it all, the culmination of the plan of love, he took dirt, he formed it himself into the form of man, and breathed his spirit, the very love he had for himself, into that man, and he became a living being. After time passed, it became evident to that man that something was missing. In the midst of perfection, no lack, no fear, no hunger, full of purpose and completely supplied, it was good, but not yet very good. The man by himself was incomplete. The full image of God could not be realized. God put the man to sleep, took a rib from his side and formed it into a woman and brought her to the man. As he saw this one, his heart exploded and he sang out, "This one at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. Woman she will be called, for out of man she was taken." And the two who were originally one became one. And the first love story was told. Or was it?
Dreams and Mysteries relies on the gifts of our friends and partners. We want to extend a heartfelt thank you to those that help us provide this quality program. Would you consider partnering with us? Visit streamsministries.com/partner or dreamsandmysteries.com to learn more.
Every believer can hear from God, so why does it seem that some hear better than others? The Art of Hearing God course is the culmination of the lessons John Paul Jackson learned from 30 years of study and walking with God. Join John E. Thomas and Paul Cheatham in Dallas, Texas, July 13th through 15th, as they teach this life-changing course. It is also available to live stream right to your home. Visit streamsministries.com/AOHGTX to learn more.
To understand this mystery, we must look below the surface. Notice that out of man there was taken of his very substance the fabric of what became woman. It was a rib from his side, part of what contained his heart and protected the engine of life within him. Out of that rib, totally him, but not all of him, God formed a woman, a helpmate, one who completes what is lacking, one who makes full and consummated the potential of being human. But that was not the first time that it happened. In the beginning, the one who was light had taken from his very own substance the fabric of creation. He had taken of his spirit and caused the man to be a living spirit. When God formed the earth, he was foretelling what was coming. When he formed the man, he continued that story. And when he brought the woman to the man, the story continued. Each time, it became clearer. The promise was being communicated. God was prophesying through his activity. His acts were anticipating something more. He was taking from himself a part of himself that would be fully him and yet not all of him, and making another who would complete the desire of his own heart to share the overflow of love that he'd had from the beginning. But like every good love story, this one had to have tension brought into it. The man, the recipients of the love that God had for himself that he longed to share, chose another love. He put something else above God. He put his wife and his own desires above the one who had caused him to be. He chose to join his wife and eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. He doubted God's good intention for him and tried to take care of himself. Real love cannot be manipulated. Real love can't be forced or coerced. It must be given or it's not real. It requires participation or it's empty. So God did not force Adam and Eve to stay. He let them make their choice, and he let that choice make them. They lost the source of life, the light of humankind, and began to grow old, weak, and die. They could not continue eating of the tree of life and sharing the unbroken fellowship they had with God. Even though God allowed them to make their choice, he didn't give up. He called to them. He provided for them. He stopped them from destroying themselves completely. And then he chose a friend, someone who gave his affections freely to walk with, and he promised that there was going to be a day when all of mankind would be blessed through him. He watched over his descendants, setting them free from oppression and slavery, showing them the path of love, constantly calling out to them through prophets and circumstances to give them opportunities to show the love that he longed for. Some did, some didn't, but he never gave up. He'd chosen out of people to be a bride, and they kept on turning away from him, just like Adam had. The perfect heart, that's so much love that he wanted to include another in that love, was breaking again and again. He had one of his friends live out a life that revealed how he felt. He told Hosea, "I want you to go marry a prostitute." So Hosea went, he brought her home, he married her. They had this commitment to one another, and she decided that her many lovers were a better choice than a steady home and the safety of family. She went back out on the streets, continuing her life of whoring. And the voice came again, "Hosea, go buy her again. Pay the fee of a prostitute to get your wife to come home again." She returned to her old life, her previous loves, her ability to provide for herself so that she didn't have to trust or rely on anyone else. Do you feel the divine heart crying out? I wanted you. I've been faithful to you. I've provided for you. I've given you what you needed and even what you wanted. Just stay with me. And again, people turned their backs on his cries and went about their lives, selling their affections for the praise of man, the glory of success, the supposed safety of wealth, or just the comfort of the familiar. At the perfect time, he sent his son, the object of his love, to come and call his people to his heart. Perhaps if they could see how he felt, maybe if they knew his intention, what if he showed his power, his compassion, and his ability to care for them? Again, they rejected him, killed him, hung him on the cross, and once more, a man was put to sleep. A hole was made in his side, and once more, God took what came out of that hole, blood and water, to make a bride. That blood makes restitution for as many as will respond. It covers over the sin and the rebellion of hearts determined to care for themselves and make their own way. It draws us back to the start, to the beginning, where we can hear his voice again saying, Adam, where are you? Come, walk with me. The church was born out of that sacrifice. The man was woken from his sleep, and the bride has been shown, and Jesus sings over you and I. This one at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called Christian, for out of Christ she was taken. That's why he left his home to come to us, so that we'll leave our home to come to him. This is the divine romance.
I dreamt I woke up in the middle of the night. I noticed something unusual through the windows. And to get a better look, I walked out the front door. When I walked outside, I realized I was somewhere else. I looked up and saw that the sky was full of stars. I could also see some planets that were very close. It almost felt like I could reach out and touch them. Some dreams are more than dreams, and while there is a metaphor in this dream, it is more of a spiritual encounter. While things I was familiar with, such as my house, were normal, God is saying He will be opening up my spiritual eyes to heavenly realities. He would be drawing me into encounters through what seemed like small invitations. The stars and planets represent the heavens, and God is showing me I have a gift to see that heavenly reality. And it will be so real, it will be like I can just reach out and touch the spiritual things I will be shown.
God has concealed messages in the dreams we dream, and as we search them out, we learn more about His ways. Decades of study and thousands of dream interpretations gave John Paul Jackson a unique perspective on understanding dreams. With the Beginner's Dream Kit, you'll be taught to recognize the 20 most common dreams and what they are saying. This kit includes the Top 20 Dreams book, John Paul's 2-CD set teaching the basics of dreams and visions, the Moments with God Dream Journal, and 2 dream cards to help you understand your dreams. For your gift of $60 or more, we will send you these important tools designed to start your journey towards a greater understanding of the dreams you dream. Order your Beginner's Dream Kit today. Visit dreamsandmysteries.com or call 1-800-538-5285.
Prophetic ministry is a gift God gave to His church to help her grow into all He intended for her. When prophetic ministry is mature, this growth is evident. There is a prophetic reformation underway in the church. Join John E. Thomas as he explores key ingredients to this reformation. For your gift of $25 or more to the ministry, you'll receive this 3-CD set teaching maturing prophetic communities, the prophetic and the fivefold graces, and reasons God speaks. To learn more about what God accomplishes as He speaks to and through us, visit dreamsandmysteries.com or call 1-800-538-5285 to ask for your Prophetic Reformation 3-CD set today.
The Apostle Paul was talking about the relationship between husbands and wives in his letter to the Ephesians. He explained how a bride should submit to their husbands, a picture of the submission that the church carries towards Jesus. Then he describes the kind of sacrificial love that a husband should have for his wife, not putting his own needs above hers, but living for her, even dying for her. He talks about how a husband should talk about his wife like Jesus did, removing spots and wrinkles by washing her, cleansing her with what he says about her and to her. And he concludes the discussion with this phrase, "This is a great mystery." But I'm talking about Christ and the church. When God instituted marriage, his plan was that the relationship a husband and wife has will be a prophetic picture of the relationship that he longs to have with the church. It says that when a man and a wife marry, they become one flesh. What was two becomes one. It says in 1 Corinthians 6:17 that whoever belongs to Jesus becomes one spirit with him. It's the same picture. We take on his name. We share his possessions. We're brought into his inheritance. We get everything that he has, and he gets everything that we had. Our name, our identity changes. We leave life the way that it was before, living for ourselves and doing our own thing, and we begin to live for him, taking on his name. The whole point of creation was so that the son could have a bride. It was all done so that you and I could respond to the divine heart and come into the love that the three shared from before time began. Our hearts are moved by stories of love because we were created for love. It cries out in our hearts because our hearts were formed for that very purpose. But some of us hurt when we hear these stories. Maybe our story's been different. Instead of the happily ever after that we'd hoped for, there are broken hearts and shared children, empty beds and broken homes. When we tried to trust, that trust was betrayed, and we've learned to hide our hearts from any desire for love. Love is like a rose. It's pretty and all, but you gotta watch out for the thorns. God knows the pain that comes from opening up your heart to love. He knows the pain of betrayal. Through the messenger Isaiah, he speaks of giving his bride a certificate of divorce because she had betrayed him again and again. He knows the pain. Remember Hosea? He's not unfamiliar with the flush of anger and hurt knowing that the one that he had married was sleeping with someone else. He knows the pain, but he still reaches out. He still longs for you and I, and he's more than willing to heal you of your pain and restore hope. And not hope in human promises, but in the divine romance. He knows what it feels like, which is why he's the only one that you can truly trust with that pain. Let me tell you a secret. When you share with him your pain, he's also the only one that can truly heal you and set you free. It is time to let go of the past and believe again. It's time to let that flush of excitement over true love to find its only fulfillment. It's time for you to say yes to his invitation and completely commit your heart and life to him. He's waiting. He's been waiting since before time began.
Is there a secret to walking in supernatural power? When you look at the life of Jesus, you can't find a method, but there is a pattern. At least once in the biblical record of every major type of miracle Jesus performed, it says that he was moved with compassion. The Powerful Love Package will equip you to understand your authority in the kingdom of God, how to use that authority to walk in the miraculous, and prepare you to position your heart for more. In the Gospel of the Kingdom flash drive, you will receive more than 7 hours of audio teaching on the kingdom of God and practical training on healing. In the DVD Anointed to Love, John E. Thomas will teach you the role of compassion and how it positions you to see more of the miraculous in prayer. For your gift of $55 or more, you will receive the Powerful Love Package. Call 1-800-538-5285 or visit dreamsandmysteries.com today.
God took of himself and created. The one who is light said, "Let there be light." The universe was formed, and he put his attention on one planet, one small piece of dirt on the edge of a small galaxy. He formed man in his image to carry the glory of God, to be like him. And when he bought us back from our rebellion, he filled us anew with his precious, sweet spirit so that we could love him as he deserved. Only God could love God with the love that God deserves. So God sent God to die so that God could be given God as a reward. You get the idea. It's all about God. And he poured himself out on those that shared in his death, giving them the life that he purchased, filling them with his own spirit so that he could have a bride for his son that would love him as he should be loved, as he deserved to be loved. Only God can love like that. So we've become one with his spirit, who is love, so that we could love like God and God's heart would be satisfied. Where are you at? Are you hiding from his presence because of shame? Are you running from his love because you want to provide for yourself and not have to trust? Are you dipping your toes into the water, trying to see if his love is safe, testing it out before you throw yourself completely in? It's a marriage he's looking for. He's not trying to build a fan base. He wants a bride for the son. Will you commit to that kind of relationship? This one lasts longer than till death do us part. This relationship will never end. Death has no hold on those that have been joined to the source of life. Will you give your all? Will you completely surrender? This is a love story you've been looking for all your life. This is the reason you exist. This is the cry in your heart for importance and purpose. God is pursuing you. Romeo and Juliet are merely a shadow. Paris and Helen of Troy cannot compare. God looks at you and his heart is ravished. You carry the very beauty of creation. You're made in his image and he longs for you. Allow the longing that you have for him to break out of the chains of convention and what is safe. Let yourself believe. Have faith in God. He is faithful. And this is one knight in shining armor that will break in, riding his white horse, destroy the dragon, and take you home to be with him forever. This is the mystery of the divine romance. This is why you're alive.